Hello and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the southeast. Parking row. The businesses in Medway that say new higher charges will drive customers away.
As far as I'm aware and far as I'm concerned, I don't think it's necessary to punish the public for wanting to visit their local high street and shop.
The artist from Essex inspired by her mum to pick up a paintbrush. Now her work is being sold by top auction houses.
Also this Friday, racing into the weekend as Speedway makes a welcome return to Kent.
And the family-run gardens in Rolvenden, famous for their spectacular bluebells, in the running for a national award. Good evening. Companies in Medway say an increase in parking charges will have a huge impact on trade.
The council say the rise is needed to help plug the gap in the local authority's budget, and the money will go towards paying for vital services.
But business owners fear customers just won't be able to afford the increase. With more, here's James Dunham.
Drivers leaving one of Rochester's main car parks were met with a rise in charges. Each time period is now 60 pence dearer, meaning a 2-hour stay costs almost £3. Modest to some, outrageous to others.
It just makes me feel angry, really, because it just feels like no one's listening to the working man. Everyone's talking a good game, but, you know, they talk, but at the same hand, they're taking it out your pocket.
I don't like it, but just pay it, don't you?
I think it's quite reasonable. I want the roads repaired and so on, so somewhere somebody's got to pay for it.
It's not just parking beside the town's historic castle which is more expensive. The changes affect all council-run car parks in Rochester, as well as Chatham, Gillingham, Rainham and Strood. It is the Easter holidays, the sun is shining. It is therefore unsurprising that the car park behind me is full. But for businesses on the high street, there is concern that once the tourists go, the weather changes and the break is over, that they'll see a decline in everyday customers because of the increases in car park charges. People pop into this pop culture comic shop to pick up their magazine subscription. Paul worries they might be put off altogether.
Charges and parking is just unnecessary to increase. As far as I'm aware and far as I'm concerned, I don't think it's necessary to punish the public for wanting to visit their local high street and shop.
A few doors down at this book and craft store, Gwen fears shoppers might spend less time visiting Rochester's retailers.
What we don't want people to rush around and miss out some of these sort of independent trading shops who are reliant on those people coming in and taking their time to look around their shop, rather than thinking, oh no, my parking ticket's going to run out, so whiz out of the door.
While at the shop's cafe, Iona says the loss of previous parking incentives have already resulted in footfall trickling.
We had free parking on Mondays and Tuesdays, and we used to notice a spike, and then they got rid of that, and Mondays and Tuesdays are some of our deadest days now. So yeah, it's been a noticeable change.
Medway Council needs the money to help plug a £17 million black hole in its budget. The councillor responsible for parking tells me the revenue will help protect frontline services.
Nobody tells me they want parking charges to increase, but equally nobody tells me they want to see cuts to support for children with special educational needs. They don't want to see cuts to help for rough sleepers, to adult social care.
So in a year's time, you're confident that businesses here will not have suffered from these increases?
I think high streets are facing challenges all across the board. That's not something that's happened in this week with parking increases or last year's parking increases.
It's not helpful though, is it?
It's part of a much bigger picture.
Increased parking prices are another hike to the cost of living, which businesses fear will become a financial burden they will have to carry. James Dunham, ITV News, Rochester.
Police say there's been a stark rise in the number of scams linked to QR codes. According to figures released by Action Fraud, Kent Police reported 77 scams since 2019, Essex had 70 and Sussex had 72, all forces seeing a significant increase.
Well, for more on this, we can talk to PC Bernie Laurie from Sussex Police. PC Laurie, I mean, this is really frustrating, isn't it, at a time when people are kind of just getting used to this new technology of scanning a QR code to pay for their parking or whatever. What can people look out for to make sure they don't fall victim to it?
Yeah, so the QR code scam is really where somebody's either tampered with the QR code, i.e. puts a different QR code over the top, which just automatically directs the unsuspecting victim to the wrong place, or they are just scanning already a fraudulent code and therefore going automatically to that wrong place. By nature of what a QR code is, it's a quick response, so people are going to generally make a payment, car parks, restaurants, things like that. So they're caught in the moment a little bit, and they're doing it very, very quickly, perhaps where they haven't got the chance to stop and think and check the web address and things like that.
And would that be your advice? You sort of take your time a little bit, just make sure that where the QR code is sending you to is where you think you've got to, in essence?
Yes, very much so. Just double check that that link that it's taken you to is the link that you should be going to, because they're invariably going to then ask for personal information, sometimes bank information, and you want to make sure you're keying that into the right destination.
And from the police's point of view, is this a crime that's particularly difficult to catch people doing and crack down on?
Yeah, absolutely. It's what we'd call a gateway to fraud, really. It's not so much the QR code that's necessarily the fraud. It's where they take you to, they get your bank details, and then potentially you might lose £2 or £3 to a parking scam, but actually what they've done is they've taken your bank details, and then you might lose significantly more to a bank impersonation scam where they'll call you back and pretend to be your bank.
It's a really worrying trend, but it's good to highlight it on the programme. We have to leave it there. PC Laurie from Sussex Police, but thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
In other news, thousands of passengers at Gatwick Airport face disruption at one of the busiest times of the year. Workers are due to go on strike during the Easter bank holiday as part of a dispute about pensions. It involves red handling staff who are members of the Unite union and includes baggage handlers and flight dispatchers. Gatwick says it's supporting the airlines affected, which include Norwegian and Delta.
Meanwhile, drivers are being warned about long traffic queues over Easter. The AA says more than 19 million people are expected to hit the roads on Good Friday alone, with congestion expected on the M25. Operation Brock will also be in place to manage traffic flows on the M20 if there are delays at channel ports.
A mother from Kent who did so much for her local community has died from an aggressive brain tumour. Fiona Lloyd-Williams helped to organise many village events for more than a decade at Offham near Maidstone. Last year, villagers raised money for charity in her honour by creating a tasteful naked calendar.
Kent is to get 65 new neighbourhood police officers by this time next year. It's part of the government's plan to increase visible patrols in town centres. It wants every neighbourhood to have named, contactable officers who will respond to inquiries within 72 hours.
Now, alarming figures have been revealed about the level of employment discrimination against pregnant women and new mothers. 74,000 women in the UK lose their jobs due to pregnancy or maternity leave every year, according to the new research.
Well, there are calls for employers to adopt better maternity retention practices and offer more supportive, flexible workplaces for mothers. Chloe Oliver has been speaking to one mother who's calling for change after her own experience.
It's needed for single parents.
Lou Temlett had just secured a senior level role in the tech industry when she found out she was pregnant. Heartbreakingly, her baby did not survive the pregnancy. And on the day of baby Emma's funeral, Lou received a text from her boss, firing her on the grounds of poor performance.
The fact that it hadn't been raised before, I had no other idea that my performance ever became an issue. It just was unbelievable. It was trauma after trauma, and it felt incredibly difficult.
Lou's story is not an isolated incident. According to the charity Pregnant Then Screwed, 74,000 women a year lose their jobs for getting pregnant or taking maternity leave in the UK. That's a 37% increase since the last study in 2016. That's one woman every 7 minutes being pushed out of their job. And that's despite the Equality Act, which is supposed to protect against discrimination in the workplace. We asked this employment lawyer in Brighton what more can be done to support women in the workplace.
I think there's a lot of problems because there's not a lot of education for employers. Many don't even understand that they will get all the money back in statutory maternity pay that they have to pay in the year that the employee is off. Also, they inadvertently discriminate when they start to do restructures and they don't include the woman that's at home, and they just completely miss that person out and don't offer promotions.
But despite the law offering some protections, Pregnant Then Screwed believes discrimination has been plaguing our workforce for years.
It tends to be that women and men earn about the same amount of money if they're in the same profession and they have the same qualifications until a woman gets pregnant. And from the point that she gets pregnant, you see this massive dip that she takes in terms of her earnings. And of course, that gender pay gap is catastrophic for women's quality of life.
The government has told ITV News, we know that discrimination still occurs far too often. This is why our Employment Rights Bill and subsequent regulations will make it unlawful to dismiss pregnant women, mothers on maternity leave, or in the 6 months after they return to work. Employers who break the law could face a costly discrimination claim.
My spine chills when you say 74,000 women lose their jobs every year in the UK because they're either pregnant or looking after children. It's not a surprise, and we're more than capable. We want to work.
It's been a decade since Lou's ordeal, but she still believes little has changed for women in the workplace. She's pushing for real change so that no woman ever has to face the loss of a child and their livelihood on the same day. Chloe Oliver, ITV News.
Now you're watching ITV News Meridian in the South East. Coming up, Andrew will be here with all the sports.
And temperatures today topped out at over 20 degrees. But as the weekend wears on, there are changes on the horizon. I'll have the details.
And you can find more on today's top stories in the region throughout the day on our website. Just head to itv.com/Meridian. You can always call us, the number 0808 1010 095. And remember, you can also follow us on social media.
The ITV Evening News continues with the national and international news at 6:30 with details of what is coming up on their programme this evening. Here's Charlene White.
Coming up on the ITV Evening News, could British Steel be nationalised? Parliament's recalled to debate it tomorrow over concerns the blast furnaces in Scunthorpe should close within days without a deal. Firefighters in Scotland warn of an extreme risk of wildfires heading into the weekend. And Sir Elton John celebrates his 10th UK #1 album. Join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
But first, concern from drivers in our region about how distracting in-car touchscreens have become.
Well, almost all new cars built these days have at least one touchscreen. Some even control important functions like the lights and hazard lights.
But using mobile phones in cars is banned, and some drivers are concerned touchscreens can be just as distracting. Chris Conway investigates.
They're an increasingly common sight in modern cars. Technology-filled touchscreens, now many even operate basic functions like car lights. Some drivers, though, believe the acceleration towards screens by car makers has increased the risk of distraction while driving. Car salesman Aaron from Maidstone in Kent admits there's a balance to be struck with screens.
They can be distracting at times, but that's no different to sat-nav, to anything else in a vehicle sometimes. And they can be unsafe in certain circumstances, but they're a massive convenience, and that's what sells in 2025, unfortunately, is convenience.
The introduction of screens started around a decade ago. Before that, drivers relied on physical buttons and switches. Now, though, many cars have no physical buttons in the cabin whatsoever, instead opting for large touchscreens like this one here. And in this car, even the heating has to be set through the screen. Experts say that's because touchscreens like this one are cheaper to produce.
You know, if you think about installing banks of switches and buttons into a car, that's expensive.
Ginny Buckley is a motoring journalist.
0 to 60 just under 8 seconds. It's not tyre shredding, but it's more than enough for a car like this.
She says because so many cars are now so reliant on technology, large touchscreens are favoured by motor manufacturers.
Our cars are laptops on wheels these days. So much is reliant on software, and of course with that, the screens have become increasingly complex. The days when you checked the oil on your car have now been replaced by checking for over-the-air updates, I'm afraid.
But there are calls for 21st century cars to go into reverse.
We are concerned that some manufacturers are moving completely away from buttons.
To put the brakes on the rise of screens, from next year, Euro NCAP, which tests vehicle safety, will downgrade the rating of any car that doesn't have buttons to control key functions.
It will be harder for manufacturers to get that coveted 5-star rating from 2026 if they haven't got buttons, to incentivise the manufacturer to just start to retain some of those buttons.
It seems despite technological advances, many drivers still prefer physical buttons. They, like the safety standards organisations, hope the cars of the future will instead look more like the cars of the past. Chris Conway, ITV News.
Right, let's talk about sport. Andrew joins us in the studio. Let's talk about Gills first and their new manager. I guess it's been a decent start, but could this be the weekend where he kicks it up a gear?
Oh, we really hope so, don't we? Gareth Ainsworth has been in charge of Gillingham for 4 matches and remains unbeaten, but they've all been draws, so he's still waiting for that elusive first win. The Gills couldn't hang on to their lead at Chesterfield in midweek, but tomorrow they welcome an NK Don side who've lost 3 on the bounce. Ainsworth says it's not all about results now, but planning for a brighter future.
I feel the vibe, I feel the positivity, but there's a long way to go, and so we're at the start of this journey, and I want to make sure that at the end of this journey, whenever that may be, whenever people would judge us at the end of this journey, it's a hell of a lot better than where the start was, because 19th in League Two, you know, it wasn't good enough for me, not good enough for Gillingham Football Club.
For Brighton, a good result this weekend is vital if they want to realise their ambitions of qualifying for Europe. Albion host a Leicester side who've gone 8 games without a point or a goal, while Brighton have gone 3 matches without a win. And in League One, Crawley entertain Leyton Orient. Now, Speedway makes a welcome return to Kent this weekend with a competitive league meeting at Iwade near Sittingbourne. Once a hotbed of speedway racing, the southeast of England has seen track after track close. But on Sunday, the newly formed Kent Eagles will take on the Leicester Fox Cubs in the National Development Trophy.
Xero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
This track at Iwade has retained a presence within Speedway for many years, doing great work with youth training and amateur racing. But this weekend sees league competition return to the venue, with hopes it will provide supporters in Kent, Sussex and Essex a team to unite behind.
We just want to promote the sport and get it to where it needs to be, you know, back where it was really, you know, quite a few years ago. But trying to get all the non-existing clubs together, forget about the rivalry, and look forward to the Speedway, really.
Leading the way for the Kent Eagles this season will be captain Ben Morley, a rider dubbed Mr. Kent Speedway by many. The Eagles welcome Leicester Fox Cubs at midday on Sunday as they do battle for National Development Trophy points, with those behind the team hoping this is the start of a renaissance for Speedway here in the southeast. Yeah, let's hope this is the start of great things.
Yeah, I mean, Speedway was massive, wasn't it? In the 70s, 80s, into the 90s, huge sport. But good to see it.
People absolutely love it, but unfortunately, for whatever reason in finances, it seems to have sort of gone out of vogue. But the people are so passionate about it, so let's hope this is the start of better things.
Absolutely. Andrew, thank you very much. Thank you. Now, an artist from Leigh in Essex has found worldwide recognition after she reconnected with her creative passion during the COVID pandemic.
Well, her mother's death and the isolation caused by lockdown led Zara Muse to pick up her tools again. A few years later, her work is being sold at the country's top auction houses. Callum Fairhurst has been to meet her.
My painting style is bold, vivacious, colourful, and I hope it touches people when you look at it.
Lockdown was a time to try out hobbies new and old. For Zara Muse, she got back into painting. Hours spent at the kitchen table in Essex, taking her mind off things. A few years down the line, now it's a full-time job, and she's celebrated globally.
I started painting for my mental health, and it just sort of gave me a bit of peace. You know, when you paint, you can't think about anything else. You're not thinking about what you've got to do this and what you've got to do as that. I found it really relaxing. And for me, mentally, it really, really helped me in my sort of dark times.
Zara was inspired to paint by her mum, who died from cancer in 2019. She only paints inspiring women, using a palette knife to craft sculptural spectacles, like the campaigner Malala. This sold for £50,000 last week at her debut at Bonhams in London.
Very textured. If you're allowed to touch it, which you can't, you'd feel it's textured. There's loads of artists out there, aren't there, that never get discovered, never get to go on the journey that I've been on. I mean, you know, that's amazing.
Grateful for her success, Zara wants to give back. Today she's working on a hand-embellished print being donated to Little Havens Hospice. She also wants to encourage others to follow their dreams.
For a single mum or mums that are juggling kids, it's the time. Allow yourself time. Allow yourself an hour a day, whether that be first thing before the kids get up or at night. It is time, because we always think we're not worthy of spending the times on ourselves, and do it. Go for it. Worst that can happen is that you fail, but you'll never get on your deathbed and think, I should have done that. You should just go for things.
And following a passion and taking a risk has certainly worked for Zara. Callum Fairhurst, ITV News.
She's incredible, isn't she? What a talent.
And great advice at the end there.
Oh, I love that. Allow yourself time. Yes. We all need to do that, don't we?
Yes.
Definitely. Well, this might help, because this week we've taken you on a tour of some of the most beautiful gardens in Kent and Sussex that have made the final of the Historic Houses Garden of the Year competition.
Well, today we've sent Tony Green to Hull Park in Rolvenden, which has spectacular seasonal displays. Tony, the estate there's been in the same family for years, hasn't it?
Yes, that's absolutely right, and you can really sense that family feel when you come here to Hull Park. All of the gardens that we've seen this week, all the finalists, they could be described as historic buildings which also are attractions in themselves and have gardens attached. But here at Hull Park, there is a beautiful house, but that's a private family home. And the people who come here, they come here strictly for the gardens. And they've been coming for the best part of a century. The whole of Hull Park is in the family of Edward Barham. Edward, it's been in your family for 4 generations. You've been sharing it with people for 90 plus years, and now you're also sharing it with people on social media.
Yes, responding to the modern ways, and people want the most up-to-date information via Facebook and other media platforms. So I go down and take the pictures, send them out to my team, who can then put them in the right places, so that people aren't disappointed. They know what they're going to expect when they get here, because it's the bluebells they want to see very often.
You've grown up here, you've been surrounded by bluebells at this time of the year. Are they ever anything less than spectacular?
No, they are always spectacular. It's nature's display at its absolute best. It's just a marvellous thing. It's not entirely nature. We do look after it. We are nurturing nature to make sure that it's the best possible display that you can see.
And it will last for quite some time?
Yeah, we're not at their peak yet. And then there'll be about 2 to 3 weeks of it looking absolutely spectacular. So the Easter weekend is looking spot on.
Edward, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, there's a lot of work that goes into looking after the bluebells and also these spectacular grounds. And it's a small team of gardeners that are all under the control of head gardener Quentin Stock. Quentin, people come here all for the bluebells, but there's plenty more to see here, isn't there?
There is. We're very lucky here. We've got lots of blossom to come on the apple trees and the forsythias and the camellias and the rhododendrons, and the wisteria is a spectacle in itself. and the area we're in currently is a wildflower meadow, and that will be full of common spotted orchids.
Now, I understand that in July you'll have been here for 25 years and now you're nominated for Gardener of the Year. Do you think you're getting the hang of this?
Well, we're getting there, but joking aside, it's nice to see in my time that things we've planted are coming on and starting to mature, and the ongoing development of the gardens. But as for the nomination to the award, well, it's a great honour.
Well, good luck with that. Voters are open and they can continue to vote until the end of August, and then the winner will be announced, and I think it's looking good.
I think it absolutely is. Tony, looking absolutely beautiful where you are. Thank you very much indeed. What a lovely spot.
Stunning, and I love that time of year when the blossom comes out and then the wisteria, kind of that peak moment in the garden, isn't it?
Then the bluebells. Right, let's talk to Holly because she joins us in the studio, and the results are in, first of all.
That's right. So this is the RSPB's Big Garden Bird Watch. It took place at the end of January. It's the annual citizen science survey that gives a great snapshot into just how our British garden birds are doing. Now, the last weekend in January, if you remember, we had Storm Eowyn, and on the Sunday a deep depression came through as well. So horrible old weather, but nonetheless around 40,000 people across Kent and Sussex took part. So to take a look at some of the results, the top bird spotted across our region was the sparrow, and that was spotted in an average of 3.5 times per garden on average. The blue tit came in second. That was spotted in 76% of gardens. In East Sussex, the wood pigeon came third. Now in Kent, it was the starling that came third. But across the UK as a whole, the starling has fallen to fourth. And this is quite big news because the starling used to be regularly the most spotted bird. And this year, it's recorded its lowest ever numbers since they started recording the numbers back in 1979. So as I say, this is a bit of a concern among experts. And what they're saying is ways you can help the starling are to limit use of pesticides, keep your lawn natural, and also put up bird boxes with holes of around 45 millimetres. That's the perfect size for starlings. So yeah, something just to bear in mind. Unfortunately, their numbers are the lowest we have ever seen. But on to your forecast, some changes afoot. Here are your details.
Wet by the coast, with a high chance of sun and splashing. TUI sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
So a very nice end to a lovely sunny day. And for tomorrow as well, I think we'll see more blue sky overhead, but perhaps a little bit more in the way of some high-level cloud building as the day wears on. That's ahead of the chance of some thundery showers for tomorrow evening and overnight, but they'll hit and miss in nature. Then into Sunday, more cloud around in general. Still some spells of sunshine, maybe a shower or two, but largely dry, I think. But it will just start to turn that bit fresher. It's out there this evening then. Well, as I say, a lovely bright end to things and starry skies as we push into tonight. We could see a few pockets of mistiness around, but not very much of it. And you could see an odd spot of frost in low-lying spots perhaps. But temperatures mostly around 6 to 9 degrees as we start tomorrow morning. So for tomorrow, for our Saturday, a bright start. Lots of sunshine around initially, but as I say, you might just see a bit more in the way of some high-level cloud filtering in as the day wears on, a little bit more of a breeze picking up as well. But the air that's coming in is still warm, so temperatures still well above average for the time of year, high teens or low 20s on the cards, especially as you come away from the coast. These are our times of high water for tomorrow. So we've got Margate at midnight 33 and again at 101 as we head into the afternoon. And if we zoom out and take a look at the picture of tomorrow evening and overnight, you start to see this feature that I mentioned arriving. So this, a little bit difficult to pinpoint exactly, but does bring that potential for some thundery showers. Clearing as we head into Sunday itself, but you can see more cloud around in general. Still some spells of sunshine there, maybe just an odd shower or two, but a lot of dry weather in general. But yes, a fresher feel, and we do see a more changeable look as we head into next week. Take care.
TUI sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
That is it for Friday's programme. In a moment, the ITV Evening News with Charlene White tonight.
But for now, for the whole team here at ITV Meridian, thank you so much for your company. We're here at 10:50 with the late news. But until then, have a wonderful weekend. Good night.
Bye-bye.